Thank you all for being here. I am Senator Tony Mendoza. I would like to begin by thanking Governor Jerry Brown for signing this important piece of legislation into law. A year ago, on September 11th, a tragedy struck our community when Paul Lee passed away, left on a bus unattended. A year later, with the tremendous help of Paul Lee's parents, school children throughout our state will now be safer riding to and from school. Paul, we stand here with your parents today to let you know that we are still pained by your passing, but we also stand here blessed by your wonderful smile and the inspiration that it instilled in us to make this bill a reality. Mr. and Mrs. Lee, I cannot thank you enough for bravely sharing your story in Sacramento with so many people, as there is no doubt in my mind that we would not be here today celebrating Paul's life by putting his name into California law without your humble yet powerful testimony. There are very few Californians, aside from legislators themselves, whose names appear in our laws. Paul is one of those very few Californians. Although no one and nothing will ever replace Paul in our lives, I hope it is in some way comforting for you to know that Paul is missed and remembered dearly, and that we will do all we can to ensure that no other parent has to endure the pain that you went through and are going through. Your strength and courage in dealing with this dreadful situation is beyond imagination. I would also like to thank Dr. April Lopez, Chair of the State Council of Developmental Disabilities, and Laura Quinn for being strong advocates on this bill and for all their efforts in ensuring that SB 1072 became law. Paul's untimely death overwhelmed me profoundly with sadness because, as a father myself, I could not imagine the wrenchful pain of losing a child. Upon hearing of Paul's death, I knew immediately that I wanted to do something to prevent such tragedies from happening again, because loss of one child is one loss too many. I introduced SB 1072, fittingly named the Paul Lee School Bus Safety Law, to protect children traveling to and from school by establishing safe pupil transportation procedures to help prevent children from being left on school buses unattended. This bill will ensure the safety of 700,000 students who are transported to and from school on these buses by ensuring that each bus is equipped with a child safety alert system similar to this. This alert system will activate once the bus has been turned off, and the bus driver has to go to the back of the bus and push that button to make sure it is off. Additionally, SB 1072 will require school bus drivers to be trained on how to ensure that students are not left unattended on our school buses. Furthermore, this bill requires school officials to notify the Department of Motor Vehicles if a school bus driver has left a student unattended on our buses, so that the department can take appropriate action in disciplining these drivers, either by revocation or suspension of their license. With Governor Jerry Brown's signature of this bill, it is now law. It is my hope that we can prevent these tragic and avoidable incidents, such as this terrible loss of losing Paul Lee, from ever occurring again. I would like to thank those who attended today, but in particular the Lee family, his mother, Yoon Ha, his father, Sang Sik, and his sister, Eden. Thank you all for being here. I hope and pray that all our children will remain safe and that we fondly remember Paul Lee, and may he rest in peace. I would like to bring up Paul Lee's mother, Yoon Ha Lee, to say a few words.
with my son here. Yes. Thank you all for coming and remembering my son Paul. Our family is grateful today to Governor Jerry Brown for his recognition that school bus safety is an important issue, and we thank him for signing SB 1072. This law will help to protect the most vulnerable of our students, like my son, who we tragically lost last year after he was left behind on a school bus. The signing of this bill is a warm hug from heaven that will allow our children who ride the school bus to arrive at their destination safely. We also want to thank Senator Mendoza for creating the police school bus safety law and for his tireless efforts in advocating for families who entrust school district and bus companies with the safe transportation of their children. No family should have to know the heartbreak we have felt every day that Paul has been gone. We failed to protect Paul, but Paul protect us. Paul, I love you. I miss you. I'm so proud of you. See you in heaven. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Now I would like to bring up Dr. Lopez, who is the chair of the State Council on Developmental Disabilities, to say a few words. Dr. Lopez?
Good afternoon. Speaking from my heart today, because this has been a long journey. I'm Dr. April Lopez, Chair of the State Council on Developmental Disabilities, and I thank you for the opportunity to be here today. I thank you to Senator Mendoza for having the vision to put this bill forward and to push it through with all the roadblocks that we ran into. I thank all the advocates out there and their families and my family with all the efforts, my daughter, Ava, who spoke in the assembly, because I too have a daughter with a disability, with Down syndrome and autism. We all have to remember why this day, this celebration is a bittersweet today, because it happened because of the death of Paul Lee, an autistic young boy, wonderful young man, nonverbal, who was left on a school bus on a hot day, hotter than today, and he was forgotten. 700,000 kids will remember Paul Lee, and he will never be forgotten. I'm proud to say that the State Council on Developmental Disabilities was a proud sponsor of this bill. And we were at the Capitol, right aside Senator Tony Mendoza, our friend in the disability community. We're so proud of the governor that he listened to his constituents, as well as the families, and most of all, Paul Lee's family. He listened and he heard, and we were screaming, and the community was screaming. No family should ever endure the pain that Paul Lee's family had to endure, and we pray that no family ever will. It took an act of God to get this bill on the governor's desk and to get it signed, and I'm sure his hand was in on it. We talked about that today. The three of us There's been a lot of tears. We're family. The State Council on Developmental Disabilities will continue to fight in the disability community to make sure all disabled individuals have the life that they should. And I thank you for allowing me to be a part of this family. And Maria, I love you.
I love you.
And my family loves you. And Senator Tony Mendoza is a true family and friend of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lopez. We have buses provided behind us to help demonstrate how these devices work. They're provided by the Montebello Unified School District and also Hacienda La Puente School District. Before we go for the demonstrations, I would like to open it up for any questions that anybody might have at this point. And if there is none, we'll proceed to the back and see some of those buses. So there were many roadblocks. There was some opposition. The private bus companies did not want to abide by this law. They didn't want to include their buses as part of the alert system. So we settled that any bus that transports students to and from school must have these devices. And that's so we overcame some of those hurdles. But yeah, we had to overcome some challenges, yes. Well, on the cheaper end, this device here, simple, it's $150. It's not that expensive. And this could be covered under their current transportation funding that they receive from the state and the federal government. So it's covered. Some the larger school district like Allen Unified already has these on their buses. Some of the newer models, they actually use some sort of scanner. They don't use the push button anymore. But the newer models are a little bit more expensive, but they actually get to scan in and out on the back of the bus, similar to pushing the button, but it's a little bit more high tech. And it serves other purposes. It has a GPS system and everything on the newer models. But this one is just a simple $150 model that'll work just the same.
Do you have any idea how many buses you're talking about statewide would be equipped with this one?
We don't have the exact number, but because some districts already have them, so it's hard to, and some need to install them, so we don't know exact. School districts already have them.
And what about a grace period for school districts?
Yes, this bill takes into effect January 1st, but the buses will be required to have them by the school year of 2018-2019. Yeah, you know, like sometimes you have like when you go into a building, you kind of scan it. You have a little card that you kind of scan in. It's the same thing. The drivers have to go to the back of the bus and scan it, and check as they exit. They could check for students that were left behind.
Senator, can you or anybody else in there tell us where this investigation currently stands?
I'm not. Last time I heard was what I heard in the news that he's pending trial. That's where it's at right now. That's all I know as far as what's happening with the driver that was arrested.
This is only in California, but what was required prior to go in the state?
This law is only for California. This is one of its kind, but these incidents occur nationwide. Students are left in buses all the time. It's unfortunate, and right now we have no way of tracking it. We have no way of providing any kind of punishment. We have no accountability. And with this law, now the DMV will be notified. Now there will be action taken upon these drivers, because before nothing happened. And I think it's a good example for other states to follow, to ensure that if we could do it in California, so can you. Let's protect our kids and stop leaving our children in these buses. And unfortunately, a lot of these kids are special needs kids. They're autistic at times, nonverbal. They're the ones that are being left behind. So this law will definitely help save lives. Seeing no other questions, we're going to proceed to the buses, and you'll see some demonstrations on how this system works. Thank you so much for being here.